Hello, Al here. A lot has happened since I last made a video. The former president has been shot in the head and survived. The president has stepped down as the nominee. Let's be honest, he was probably forced out by some folks, replaced by Kamala Harris. And there was a huge blasphemy on a global scale against our Lord Jesus Christ at the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics, where they mocked the Last Supper. And pertaining to the topic of this video, there was a debate between Pinesap and Luigi on the papacy. Pinesap's been on my channel. I'm not going to give a full review of the debate, but I just want to say a couple things about the debate. Then I want to respond to an argument that was brought up in the debate, which I don't think Pinesap had an adequate answer to. I just want to say two things about the debate that I liked from Pinesap. I like how he said at the end when Joseph Sweden called in that the Dictatus, he told Joseph that the Dictatus Papa is not an official document. Thank you, Joseph, for saying that. And then he also told Luigi that the Pope John only approved the Photian Council's decision to rehabilitate Photius. That's all he approved from the council. I'm glad everyone got to hear that. And for those who want to look it up, page 206 and 209 of Dwornik's book. So anyway, there's an argument about Pope Martin in the 7th century made by Luigi. And Trulia calls in the Q&A and essentially makes the same argument. I've clipped those two. I'm going to play the clip. It's 5 or 6 minutes. Then I'm going to refute it with primary sources. And here we go.
The Catholic Catechism, when it says that the Pope has universal power over the whole church, a power which he can always exercise unhindered?
Yes.
Okay, so you agree that the Pope can appoint a patriarch, right?
I do.
Okay. Can you explain to me why Pope Martin then says, he, Stephen of Dora, was ordered to ordain bishops and priests and deacons according to the canons, as far as power was lacking to us to appoint the Patriarch of Jerusalem?
So there's two things to there. Keep going.
Go ahead.
So there's two things to keep in mind in the context in which he's writing. For one, that's when Muslim incursions were starting to happen in that region of the world. And so there was a physical difficulty in having the power to elect a new patriarch. On top of that, too, the normative means of electing a patriarch was through a synod, right? Because at the time, they wanted someone who could represent that region of the church. And so they didn't have, really, because of the Muslim incursion and the horrible events going on at that time, the power to gather a synod, which was generally the normative means of electing the new patriarch, in order to appoint that patriarch.
Okay, so two things. So first of all, Stephen of Dora was physically there in Palestine the same year. So it wasn't a matter of him not being able to get there. He was able to get there the same year.
No. I didn't say that he was not able to get there. I know he was there.
And then in the 1200s, the Pope had no problem appointing a patriarch of Alexandria without a council. So do you think a council is required to appoint a patriarch?
No. What I'm saying about
then why are you using that as a justification?
What I'm saying about the synod. Hold on. What I'm saying about the synod is respecting a church's local custom is different than not having the power to do something. I'm saying that Pope St. Martin respected the local custom of using a synod to appoint a bishop, which was actually very prominent in the East as well, the West as well.
But he specifically uses the verbiage, the power was lacking to appoint the patriarch. He doesn't say he's respecting the traditions. He says the power was lacking to appoint the patriarch.
But given the context, the power might refer to the human, or is likely referring to the human event going on that prevents the normative means of how they would appoint that patriarch, which again, the custom that Pope St. Martin respects.
If the Pope can do it without a council, what are the normative means? He should just be able to appoint the patriarch. This is clear evidence that the ecclesiology was different in the first millennium.
Normative means refers to the idea that they want a patriarch who can represent the people, right? This is why you had synods that would elect a patriarch, right? Because they didn't want to necessarily just appoint someone who the people felt at variance with or whatever in order to create discord.
But that's not what he says.
This is what I'm referring to with the church being both divine and human, right? You work with human means to try and appoint the best possible situation. Power doesn't necessarily mean that he was lacking to do so.
But I mean, that's what he says verbatim. I'll let the audience decide. Do you must
Next
be
one we've got Craig Truglia.
Trulia.
But welcome, Craig. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good. My question, another for Pinesap. Sort of not fair. Everyone's beating up on it.
But before you go, I know, real quick, I know people are saying there's not enough Catholic representation here in the call-ins. You guys are more than welcome. We don't have a lot of time left, but all Roman Catholics are welcome to call in and question Luigi. We don't hold anyone back or silence any worldviews here. So if you're Catholic and you want to call in, get in the queue. But go ahead, Craig.
Well, thankfully, I have a quick question. So how clear would St. Pope Martin have to be in order to communicate to your satisfaction, Pinesap, that when he said it was not in his power to appoint a Patriarch of Jerusalem, that it actually wasn't in his power to appoint a Patriarch of Jerusalem?
So are what you're asking?
How would he like him to word it better in a realistic way for him to communicate that it wasn't in his power to appoint a Patriarch of Jerusalem?
I would have to see a claim made that on the Matthean principle itself did not give him that power to do it.
All right. Thank you for answering my question.
All right. Is that all you got, Craig?
Well, don't want to beat up. I want to keep beating up on him, but I think that's Luigi.
Well, while Craig is up here, I got to give him credit. He helped me a ton in studying for this debate, and his book, Rise and Fall of the Papacy, is phenomenal, and everyone needs to go get it.
Yeah, it was also cited by Pinesap, so I appreciate it. But I do think when we look at these historical sources, when someone says it's not my power to do this, and if we start saying, well, he was talking normatively about the synod, this, that, the other thing, that's nowhere in the conversation there. So it seems that we create this impossible burden of proof for someone to communicate that Vatican I papacy is just not possible. And I just find that interesting because that always gets posed on the Orthodox side. But I mean, this quote's been out here for a while now, and the best response is, well, if we read this 1,000 different ways other than what it says, then maybe it doesn't mean what it means. And I just found that very interesting because I think that's the best response that the Roman Catholic side could come up with. So I give my congratulations to you, Pinesap.
All right. Well, we appreciate the call in, Craig. Thank you very much.
Craig.
Okay, I'm going to read the quote, and I'm going to read a bit more from that letter. The source is Conflict and Negotiation in the Early Church, letters from antiquity, translated from the Greek, Latin, and Syriac, edited by Neil and Alan. There's a cover to this, but I can't find it, so I apologize. Okay, this is Pope Martin to a guy named Pantaleon, a cleric in Jerusalem, and he's talking about a guy named Stephen of Dore, who's like the Pope's agent. And due to the difficulty of the times, this page 223, and due to the difficulty of the times, that is, due to the presence of the tribes who are invading us, he was ordered, Stephen of Dore, to ordain bishops, priests, and deacons according to the canons, as far as power was lacking for us to appoint the Patriarch of Jerusalem to build up clerical orders. It was fitting, therefore, for those who profess to have the zeal to show the ardor of that zeal here, so that the horn of Christians should be increased or raised up by increasing the number or creating priests. And page 224, he goes down a bit. I'm going to skip a bit. Whence, moved by this power, the Apostolic See has overlooked nothing which might help the Catholic Church there recover its priestly honor fittingly through the pious bishop Stephen already mentioned. But those who forbade it will bring judgment on themselves concerning him for this reason. I go around weeping and saddened day by day, beseeching God in the goodness with tears that they should not reject his heir up to the end, but should open the door that they have shut, so that the splendor and ornament of his priesthood should arise again there, when the bishops are increased in order to keep the church's flock safe and the shepherd's care and snatch them with zealous vigilance from the snares of wolves. Concerning those who were not canonically elected, so Sophronius has died. Concerning those who are not canonically elected in the Patriarchate of Sophronius, that's a Patriarchate of Jerusalem. Sophronius had died a few years earlier. we decree that that canon should be kept inviolable. The canon was established by the holy apostles and our fathers concerning those who, in another city without the judgment and knowledge of the Pope, who has the power over that city, either elected or were elected or consented or called a council. For we cannot dissolve the canons of the church, we who are defenders and guardians of the canons, not transgressors, even if they violate both sees. I mean, this apostolic see, which did not give them the right to ordain, as was said before, and the holy see of James, which they sought to hide from Sophronius, so that others could freely control the elections themselves as they wished, not as the Holy Spirit commands. This is page 224 to 225, same book. So there's a bunch of illegal stuff going on in Jerusalem. On top of that, there's a huge Islamic empire, this new religion that's controlling these areas. And of course, they have the priests have to pay protection money. And there's more information about the chaotic situation. And this is Stephen of Dora's letter. And he talks more about the chaos going in with these illegal monothelite bishops usurping. I have this is page 148 of the Acts of the Lateran Synod 649, Richard Price's edition. I have also to inform your holiness that by exploiting the turmoil of the times and through lust for power, they have led many in the East astray. For Sergius, bishop of Joppa, usurping the role of caretaker of the See of Jerusalem after the withdrawal of the Persians, in virtue not of ecclesiastical procedure, but secular power, ordained several bishops there in contravention of the canons as suffragans of the See of Jerusalem. And then there's a thing in brackets, which I believe it means it's only in the Latin edition. Although he himself is far from having been confirmed, he presumed to ordain others. Continuing, it's not in brackets, so it's in both Greek and Latin versions. They, being well aware in consequence that their ordination was worthless, sent it to submission by letter, assenting to the innovation championed by Bishop Paul of Constantinople. So essentially, there's a ton of illegal and canonical stuff going over there, influenced by secular power. So canons are being violated left, right, and center. There's a new Islamic empire controlling it, and secular powers being abused to appoint bishops, all against the Pope's command. Now, what did Pope Martin think about his authority in appointing bishops in the patriarchates of Jerusalem and Antioch? I have two quotes for you, both from Pope Martin. This is on page 211, same book. We're back to this book now. For the Lord did not give us spirit of fear, but the strength of love. And this is Pope Martin to John, Bishop of Philadelphia. For the Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but of strength and love and good sense. For removing every heresy which is opposed to the word of faith, and for rooting out every vice which is contrary to divine virtue, so that prospering in the Lord in this way, you might correct what is deficient and appoint bishops and priests and deacons throughout every city of those which are in the sees of Jerusalem and Antioch. For you to do this by the direction of it is fitting. It says that in brackets, meaning it's inserted into the text. It is fitting for you to do this by the direction of our apostolic authority, which the Lord gave us through the most holy Peter, Prince of the Apostles, on account of the desperate needs of our times and the pressure of the Arab tribes, lest the most excellent priestly rank be lacking as far as any, etc., etc. So, on the Pope's authority, on the Petrine authority, the most holy Peter, Prince of the Apostles, he's going to create bishops, priests, and deacons in through every city which are in the sees of Jerusalem and of Antioch. In every city, Does that include Jerusalem? You bet it does. And this is done on the Pope's authority through the authority of the Most Holy Peter, Prince of our apostolic authority, which the Lord gave us through the Most Holy Peter, Prince of the Apostles. I think it's pretty clear what Pope Martin believed. I have another quote from Pope Martin. Okay. This is in his letter to the churches. Pope Martin to the Church of Jerusalem and Antioch, page 229. According to the power granted to us by the Lord's grace through Peter, the holy Prince of Apostles, we've instructed our beloved brother John, Bishop of Philadelphia, to fulfill our role in all the churches joined in the East and create bishops and priests and deacons in all the cities that are clerically under the sees of Antioch and Jerusalem, lest, as the prophet says, there be no food for the sheep, although there are no oxen in the stalls. Let me repeat this. According to the power granted to us by the Lord's grace through Peter, the Lord, Prince of the Apostles, we've instructed our beloved Bishop John of Philadelphia to fulfill our role in all the churches joined in the East and create bishops and priests and deacons in all the cities that are clerically under the sees of Antioch and Jerusalem, lest, as the prophet says, blah, blah, blah. All the sees in clerically under the sees of Antioch and Jerusalem. Is that sound like he doesn't have the clerical authority to do so? He absolutely does. The power was lacking because of the political situation. That's why with the Islamic invasion, the illegal monothelites usurping uncanonically, using secular power, as Stephen of Dore says, that's the reason. We know he has the authority because of those last two quotes to John of Philadelphia and the churches of Jerusalem and Antioch. Pope Martin believed in Vatican I, obviously. He's a Catholic pope. And in the 7th century, Vatican I was believed east and west. That's true for Pope Martin, Stephen of Dore, John of Philadelphia, Pope Agatho, Maximus the Confessor, you name it, they believed it. Vatican I is the paradigm of that area. Catholics didn't innovate. The people that innovated are the Eastern Orthodox with their hyper-Caesaro-papism. Let me just give you a quote. This is Patriarch of Constantinople, Anthony IV, in 1395, writing to Prince Vasily of Moscow about the authority of the emperor in the church. Therefore, my son, you are wrong to affirm that we have a church without an emperor, for it is impossible for Christians to have a church and no empire. The empire and the church have a great unity and community. Indeed, they cannot be separated. Does Luigi believe that? No. This was an innovation. This was an Eastern Orthodox innovation that they had to change after the empire fell, because you can't have an empire without like the empire and the church cannot be separated. Well, the empire no longer exists. The Catholics didn't innovate anything. Pope Martin believed in papal supremacy, Vatican I. And I'm glad that I finally made a video about this. So God bless.